Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Velen. This is Mechanism. Today I'm going to be covering part 2 of my series on how you can actually get to the mining device right over here, the digital miner. It is very fabulous, very good, and it can help you get all the ores that you ever need in a very large area. So let's get into how to get there and how to use it, which is probably the most important thing because it looks a little bit complex. But before we do that, if you followed all the instructions from my previous video on how you can actually get yourself set up with some ore doubling and get the basics of your stuff set up for this, then you should be well on your way to having this completed. What you're going to need is a few more tools though. One is this, an osmium compressor. This is going to add in something a little bit more advanced. We've already made steel casings. Infused alloys are just simply redstone processed iron in an infuser. But the advanced control circuits, they sound really scary, but they're not. It's just a basic control circuit with a couple more infused alloys. That's pretty much it. And then once you've made one of these things, which you will need a little bit more iron and steel and all that stuff, you can place it down in your setup as it is. Click on here and it's got a little bit of stuff going on. Now remember, this is an osmium compressor. What are we going to need this for? Well, let's click on the show recipes. There's only 2. That's it. These are really good materials though. Refined glowstone ingots are cheaper than refined obsidian because refined obsidian dust requires diamonds to be sacrificed in order to be made because it's basically an infusion of diamonds and obsidian. Glowstone dust, on the other hand, is just found in the nether and you can process it. So how does this machine work? Well, it takes osmium as its fuel. It's similar to the metallurgic infuser, but instead it's going to use osmium instead of like redstone or iron or something like that. So that's pretty much what this is. So let me grab a bit of osmium and toss this in here, and you'll see it fills it up just like that. 1 ingot will fill this up with 200 millibuckets, which is what's required for each process of this to make a refined obsidian ingot or a refined glowstone ingot. What are these good for? The glowstone ingots are good for more or less just a bunch of tools and armor. It's also good for a teleporter option later on, but that's about it. There isn't really too much that you can do. As far as the obsidian one, though, it's going to be a little bit more interesting. The refined obsidian ingots are very important because they are used for making, let alone some of the highest tier armor and weapons in Mechanism besides the powered suits. Yeah, there's a lot of different things in here that you can use because we're still early game. We only just made how to do some ore doubling with a few basic machines and power. This is just going to add a little bit more to that. So we're going to need to make refined obsidian dust. In order to do that, because we need refined obsidian for the ingredients for this bugger right here, the digital miner. So let's go on with this. Refined obsidian dust. How do we make this? Well, in a metallurgic infuser with some diamonds. You can place some diamonds in there, but as before, you're going to want to enrich it first to get the wafers and get an 8 times effect. So if you have diamonds, you could try dropping it in here, and it doesn't work because the only way to do that, to get it to go in normally, would be like using diamond dust, which to make that you'd have to have a crusher. We don't need a crusher. We're going to infuse this first. So let's grab or enrich this first. Put it in here. It will enrich into an enriched diamond like so. Then you can take it and drop it into a metallurgic infuser and get 8 times the yield as before. So don't be afraid to do that. What do I do with this at this point? You're going to want to get some obsidian. And you're thinking, all right, I just put that in there, right? No, it doesn't work because it still needs to be processed. It needs to be enriched in an enriching factory, which it will then produce 4 obsidian dust from that. Then you take the obsidian dust and your enriched diamonds, combine them together in a magic metallurgic infuser, and you get yourself what you're looking for, which is pretty much refined obsidian dust that you can then process in your osmium compressor. So basically you're taking osmium, diamonds, liquid osmium, and compressing this all together to make a refined obsidian ingot. This is why these things are so difficult to make, because it requires so many machines to get there and so many processes and expensive materials. And there we go. And why do we need these? Let me show you the recipes that we have ahead of us. To make the digital miner is like so. It's got a lot of really weird components. We've seen 2 of them before. The steel casing, which is just made with some steel and some glass, maybe a piece of osmium. Basic control circuits, again, just some osmium and redstone. Those are no problem. Let's take a look at the other things here. We've got logistical sorters, which basically can help you with kind of transporting items in and out of inventories. They're actually part of the crafting recipe for this. So these are just basically really cheap and simple. They're not that bad at all. To look at some other ingredients, we have here atomic alloys. These require the refined obsidian, which you can actually enrich stuff with. Now, if you turn it into an ingot, you can also crush these back. You don't have to actually turn them into ingots. Like I was saying, once you get them refined, you don't have to, you know, ingotize them with osmium. You can actually take that as is and just drop it in here, or you can enrich it and turn it into a wafer. Go figure that if I take this and grab some refined obsidian, put it in here, it'll then turn into enriched obsidian. Just like that. And then, of course, as before, you can always 8 times the yield for what that is going to be used for. And in this case, we need a reinforced alloy in order to turn it into an atomic alloy. To get that, you're going to need an infused alloy that's been processed through diamonds. And those are just iron ingots processed in redstone. So yeah, again, reasons why I was saying you probably want to have 3 of these darn metallurgic infusers in the first video is because of this exactly. You're going to want to take your iron ingots, which turn into infused alloys, then process them in here to get them turned into the reinforced alloys, and then process those in the refined obsidian to make atomic alloys. You might even want to make a 4th one of these metallurgic infusers, or 5th even if you want to go that far. There we go. This one's got refined obsidian. I can put that in there, and that'll process into the atomic alloy. Whew! There's a lot to go on here, but it's not a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of things happening, a lot of reprocessing, because honestly, if you look at this is all that's required to make a couple of atomic alloys. That's it. Moving on from that, we've got teleportation cores. Why do we need these? Because this machine will teleport your ores to you. It is amazing. Again, it'll need more atomic alloys, and then some of that. That's it. Some gold and some lapis and a diamond. So overall, this is what you're going to need. Plus, you'll need one last item, and that is the Robit, which is actually a really cool item in itself, and it requires a lot of materials in order to make it. It's also made with all 3, an osmium compressor, an enrichment chamber, and a metallurgic infuser, because it requires refined obsidian ingots themselves. In its recipe is a personal chest, which is a fabulous item, by the way. Let me grab one of these here and I will show you. It's made of some steel, glass, wood, and a basic control circuit. It's really basic. You can open it up. It's a double chest size backpack that you can take with you. If you click it on the ground, you can place it. Because I'm in creative, it created a duplicate. It would actually, not have one there. Then you can place it here. You can always lock it again to keep others out of it. You can keep it with you. The only problem is, if you use it to make yourself a Robit, because that is part of the recipe, if you have stuff in that chest, you might lose some to all of the items in that chest in the current version. I reported this as a bug because I don't think it's supposed to be there, but it might happen. So be wary of the personal chest. They're really cool. Best to have them in world than on your person, but on your person in a pinch. So a Robit, how do they work? Well, they don't work unless you have one of these things that it's sitting on, a charge pad, which is made with some steel ingots, polished blackstone pressure plates, which you'll have to go into the nether, find one of those bastions that are protected by piglins, and grab up some of their blackstone. But otherwise, you'll need an energy tablet, which is gold, redstone, and an infused alloy. So, alright, I placed down a charge pad. What good is that going to do for this Robit? Obviously, it will keep it powered, right? But, well, if you break the charge pad, the Robit does not exist. It just drops into the world. So you're going to want to be sure about that when you do it. Put this guy down, and there you go. Your Robit is here. What does a Robit do besides act as a crafting ingredient for this thing? Well, it does a lot of things, actually. You can tell it to, we can rename it. We can say, Haya is going to be, hi, I'm Haya. There you go. And it changed its name. There you go. Just that simple. It doesn't cost anything to change the name of it. You can actually store energy tablets in it to keep it powered if you're worried that its measly 40k power is going to run out, which energy tablets can be just charged and used like that. You can tell it to follow you, so that if I move places, it will follow me around. Yes, It only has a half a heart. If you look above there on the one probe, it says half a heart, but the thing's practically invulnerable. It's very, very rare that it will ever end up dying or something. It does not like teleporting very well. If you teleport between dimensions or something like that, it may or may not follow you, so you'll have to be aware of that. What else does it do? You can click on here, you can tell it to pick things up that are near you. So if I drop things, oh, there goes my osmium compressor, it will try and pick things up. It's not perfect, but it's better than you dropping things often. Now the problem it might have is if you have something over here, and you're going the other way, it might start getting confused. So it's not the best of things to have all the time picking things up. So you'll probably want to turn that off. You can rename it. If it's following you around or just annoying you, or you're done with it because you're trying to build and it's getting in your way, you can tell it, go back home. In its Robit crafting grid, you can craft things up just like you can on a normal crafting table. It has its own inventory that it picked things up with. There we go. I just got those back. It also has its own furnace, so I can smelt things in here. That's pretty darn cool. And it has a Robit repair. It has an infinite anvil. As long as it is powered, you can use this to recreate things in your anvil. It's pretty darn cool. And I also recommend that you install a mod by the name of Robit Wraps. You can add in different skin variations by taking items and just kind of shift clicking them on the Robit and turning them into things like penguins or frogs or little characters from different games and stuff. It's just very entertaining if you really want to do that. But I highly recommend it. Thank you, Mallrat, for making that mod. Now, moving on here, we should have all the ingredients. These, plus the Robit, and you can make yourself, finally, a digital miner. There we go. I have it in place. It's good to go. What in the world is going on? I've got all these different things. If you set this up at first, let me actually grab one of these things. Grab this. It will have this little port on there, which it also has one on the back too. What's going on? These, and there's ports on the sides. Oh boy, I'm confused. Well, I made a basic energy cube. Reason being is that this can store some power. You can use it to just kind of, bring along with you if you really want to, or you can always just directly plug in different power sources like solar panels or wind generators if they have, visibility to the sky or something like that. But ultimately, you can always use some kind of energy cube that's been powered up, or even quantum entangloporters, which are very, very expensive to make, but very worthwhile for, transporting items, energy, fluids, power, all sorts of stuff. So, the different things. On the sides, this side and this side are the green squares. These represent the power inputs. You're going to want to power it on the sides, just like that, right? Then on the back and the top are two different inputs and outputs. On the back is the output. Just think of it as this way. The thing looks kind of like a Ravager in recent Minecraft, right? With the legs and the face on the front and the butt out the back. So it's going to poop stuff out the back. That's what's going to be in this out here. So you're going to want to put an inventory here to catch the outputs. On the top is an optional item. If you put a chest up here and fill it with stuff that you want to be replaced, like stone, cobblestone. I put a whole bunch of cobblestone in here. It will take the cobblestone, and any ores that it mines up will be replaced with cobblestone if you specify it to do so. Otherwise, you don't even need it there. But this item here that I have displayed on the front, a dictionary, is going to be useful. I'll show you why in a moment. Let's actually get into the UI of this machine. It has here how much energy it needs. By default, that's 40 FE per tick, which is actually really, really low. You could run it with one of these things over here at a very low rate. Probably a couple of them could do it. And it's really good like that. It has several options here. Auto eject. What does this do? Auto eject will automatically take things that it mines. Instead of it going into its own inventory, it will automatically go into its output in the back. There we go. Just like that. Pretty cool. So, or you could turn it off and it will just keep things in its own internal inventory. Now, if you have it turned on and there's nothing out the back, it may end up pooping into the world. So you got to be careful about that. But auto pull. This will automatically pull things from this chest up on the top. Oops, I just flipped my dictionary. There we go. If you click on here, it will automatically pull things from this chest to replace them with. Currently, I don't really need it to do so. It's just a lag reduction. You can do it so that you don't have giant gaping ore holes in the world when you're exploring and stuff. And then this, Silk Touch. Watch this. The power needed is 40 FE per tick. If I click this, it is now 480. It goes up quite a bit, so you got to be really cautious about that. If there is a specific item you want silk touched, I'd recommend you do that. But there is no option for this thing to start doing a looting effect. You will have to do that manually with some kind of tool or weapon or something like that. Now, it has different items on here. It will usually say this when you're starting. Idle, not ready, to mine 0, right? So you'll have to, instead of just hitting start, because it might start mining everything in the area, you're going to want to go into the configs and check it out. Yes, you can put in a power tablet here and you can charge things that way as well. This is its power meter. Click on configs and it has different filters. These are all the same things. You can have it redstone controlled, you can turn it to private or not, you can upgrade it with speed or energy upgrades, and so on. But if we go into the config, it's a little bit confusing. Let's get rid of this. I don't want that there. This is what you'll see when you first come in. Radius will be probably set at 10 by default. Minimum 0, maximum 60, eye off. What in the heck does all this mean? Radii. This, or radius is what this is short for. It will go out to a 10 block radius. Now currently I'm at around 116 Y level in the world. So if I hit this and we have the minimum area that it's going to mine down to, Y level 0, that's fine. If I want to change this to Y level 120, then I click checkmark, it will change it. So it's mining from Y level 0 to Y level 120 in a 10 block radius from its center block. Oh boy. And eye off, that is this, inverse mode. You can tell it to just mine specific items and do the inverse of that so that it will mine everything but those items. But for the moment, let's go back. Remember it said 40 FE per tick? Now it's at 52.3. Why? Because I have told it to mine a much broader area than the 0 to 60 that was on there before. So it actually will take more energy to do so. So if you're going to change this, I recommend you either do just a chunk at a time, or if you have all the power in the world, then you don't need to worry about it. So 0 to 60 should get you everything except for like coals and coppers that are at the very, very top that you will also get down at the bottom. So it's not really that important. But if we go back and we click visuals, oh, what's all this? This is a visual representation of where it's actually going to mine. Now I don't see very much because it actually goes down all the way to bedrock. So that is what the visuals represent. I'm going to turn that off. We're going to keep this at 60 because that's just a smart thing to do since we really don't find any other ores any higher than that we really need. You don't want to do inverse mode unless you're really specifying stuff on here. And we're back down to 40 forge energy per tick. So if we go over here, we can add in filters for what it will mine. Otherwise, it will probably mine everything in this area. You don't want it to mine everything. You just want it to mine specific ores. So you click on here and you've got item stacks, tags, materials, mod IDs. What the heck? You probably don't want to bother with item stacks. You probably don't want to mess with mod IDs unless you want specific mods in there. But tags and materials are the most likely things. Tags, if you're familiar with them already, can be very useful. You can actually type in something like forge, which is what this is on, and then ores. You hit save, and there we go. It's now going to go through all of the ores that are tagged in Minecraft, and even modded ones in this case, which is going to be excellent, provided that the mods that you've added all have tagged their ores appropriately. If they haven't, then they're probably not going to show up. And therefore, it will just start mining ores, only ores. That's it. If you want to do something different, like let's say I want to mine specifically chiseled sandstone. We're going to click that in there, chiseled sandstone. We hit that too. So it's going to do these and this. You can tell it to choose a different priority if you want by check marking these arrows, but that's pretty much going to be it there. Now, if you recall, we had a dictionary up here. Why do we need a dictionary? This is really cheap. Basic control circuit in a book. What's it do? This will tell you what things are by right-clicking on them. Ah, now you can see the different tags and stuff like that of what things are, if they have them. Sometimes they don't, like grass. It's not going to work. But if I get grass and actually shear some up, I can tell this thing that I want a new filter material, and I can grab it and I can drop it in here. And it will actually start looking for just grass and mining those up. Now if I use Silk Touch, who knows? But currently, there you go. You could always tell it to just require replace, no. But we're going to click save, and we can now mine chiseled sandstone, grass, and all of the ores in the world. Now if you recall, there was the whole replacing ores. Remember up here I've got cobblestone. Let's see if I can actually click in here. Cobblestone in here. Well, if you go into one of these filters and click here, require replace, yes, then it will actually start replacing those ores if you have auto pull turned on, of course. You can always put some in here as well. And let's see, I don't think that I actually did. There we go, save. And so now it should mine all of these items in the 0 to 60Y range with a 10 block radius. Now you can actually maximize this up to 32, and you're thinking, all right, well, this is probably going to increase my cost of energy. It does a bit. It does a bit. So you're going to want to be aware of that. It kind of doubled it because, yeah, I increased that a lot. But once you're ready, you just hit start. And you can see how much it's going to mine in that entire area. That's a lot of stuff. But it's not running because there's no power to it, which I happen to have a solution for. So let's just put some of this here, and it should be getting all the power that I need now. And you can see there it says, hello there, General Kenobi. So digital miner and all this stuff going on, digital miner upgraded. Yep, all sorts of stuff. You can see the power is going up, and it is actually processing and getting ores. Cool. Is it using some of this stuff? Probably not, because I don't know that I told it to replace the right items. But you can see it is currently, oh, it's mining cobblestone. What is it doing? Hit stop if it's not doing what you want. And you notice you can't hit config anymore. It's okay, you can hit reset. It's not going to delete all your stuff. You hit reset, it's going to allow you to then access the config menu. You can go in here, you can change it to not replace things. You can go back, hit save, and we're going to delete this. We're going to delete this, and then we're going to be set, because this is way more than I need it to do. I just need it to do ores for now, and then we're going to hit start. And we hopefully should start seeing ores. There we go, and it stopped mining cobblestone because it thinks that the cobblestone is a sandstone-like material. Now, if I don't have this automatically ejecting, we can turn it off. It will then start storing the stuff in its internal inventory, like I was saying. Turn that back on. It will start pooping it back out in the back end. There we go. You have a scroll bar on the side if you do need that as well, but that's pretty much it. This will allow you to get a lot of ores in a large area. Hit start. As you can see, just ores, there's over 10,000. It's over 9,000 to be frank, but yeah, that's quite a lot of ores, and it is currently upgraded. I have in here 4 speed upgrades and 8 energy upgrades to allow this to run at a much faster speed than it normally would. If I take these out, let's take these out, all the speed ones out. We don't care about the energy right now. You can see let's do auto eject off. We'll let that run for a second while I explain what this other one is. Anchor. Anchor allows this thing to stay chunk loaded so that it can actually mine when you're not around. This is very important. And an anchor, there we go, is just made with diamond dust, which you need to make in a crusher. So you'll have to add another machine for that, some glass, and an infused alloys, which isn't too bad considering that it will keep it chunk loaded while running. So that's really, really key. But if we look in here, you can see there's 7 items. That's 8 items. We're gonna hit stop, reset. We're gonna go back in here. I'm gonna drop the speed upgrades back in, which helps it to go 16 times faster now. And then we're gonna hit start. And then it's going to mine things a lot faster. Now, the only reason that I had specifically this, 4 speed upgrades and 8 energy upgrades, is because that is what keeps it at its default power settings. And it's only modified by how you change the machine itself. So you can have it run 16 times faster at the same power level. And as you can see here, just in a fraction of the time that we had before, we're already getting a ton of ores. Iron, uranium, tin, osmium, redstone, fluorite, all sorts of other interesting stuff. So there's plenty more in this mod, but I figured that this is a really good way for people to start getting into this. I mean, heck, you've already got access to things like this jetpack that I could, potentially be, flying around in as well. But if you guys have been enjoying this little bit-by-bit series, please be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, and as always, be sure to spread the mischief to others. And don't be afraid to hit that notification bell. We'll see you guys out on Twitch. Till next time. Bye.